Coming up tonight on YCN News, a piece of skiing history is up for sale in Vermont. And no, not just a pair of skis or poles, an entire ski hill. Smell that? That's the beautiful smell of pulled pork. Walpole holds a cook-off over the weekend. And a look at Brattleboro football as they gear up for the season. For more news, weather, and sports, stay tuned for YCN News, giving you your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is Tuesday, August 25th. I'm Kurt Weedy, and welcome to YCN News. New Hampshire State Police say a man suffered life-threatening injuries after crashing his motorcycle early Tuesday morning in Warner. Now, police responded to a home on East Main Street in Warner for a domestic disturbance call shortly after 4 in the morning and learned that a woman had left the home and was being followed by a man on a motorcycle. The woman returned home shortly after and told officers the man had crashed his motorcycle and that he needed an ambulance. Police found the man unconscious at the intersection of Route 103 and Shudak Road, and he was transported to Concord Hospital with life-threatening injuries. The man was charged with aggravated driving under the influence, though police say the investigation remains ongoing and more charges could be pending. Vermont Governor Peter Shumlin crossed the Connecticut River into New Hampshire yesterday to muster up some support for Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Shumlin spoke to potential voters in Hanover and Claremont, making the case as to why he believes Clinton is the best option in a race that features a fellow Vermonter in Senator Bernie Sanders. Shumlin touted Clinton's plans of making college more affordable for everyone and experience in working to strengthen the middle class. Shumlin began the day speaking in Hanover at the home of a former Dartmouth College professor before traveling south to Claremont to speak to an audience of about 30 at the home of David and Kyle Messier. Well, this next story goes out to all those ski enthusiasts out there who remember hitting the slopes long before high-speed chairlifts were the normal. As it turns out, the Upper Valley was home to the country's first ski rope tow, though the site is currently up for sale. According to Vermont Public Radio, the Vermont Land Trust, along with several residents, hope to buy the 100-acre parcel in Woodstock where the hill is located. The nation's first rope tow was installed on what was then Gilbert's Farm back in 1934 and was powered by a Model T Ford engine. Attorney Richard Windish is in the process of assessing how much money the Vermont Land Trust and residents would need in order to meet the asking price. Now, the rope tow itself can no longer be seen at the site, though its supports remain, and there is also a plaque commemorating the site's history. A proposal to condense many of the services offered by Alice Peck Day Memorial Hospital in Lebanon, New Hampshire is being addressed by the Lebanon Planning Board. Members of the board expressed concerns at a meeting last night about APD's plan to pare down services into a new 45,000 square foot outpatient clinic. Now, during the conceptual review, the Valley News reports that the $13 million two-story multi-specialty building is slated to sit approximately 200 feet to the west of the existing hospital. The hospital plans to return to the planning board for site plan review next month. And on a real estate note, prospective home buyers, will have the chance to land a multi-million-dollar home tomorrow at a unique auction in Wilmot, New Hampshire. The 8,000-plus square foot home on 251 Kearsarge Mountain Road was originally listed for sale at just over $5 million back in September of last year. But the house has remained on the market since, despite several price changes. Sotheby's real estate agent Pamela Perkins told YCN News that these kinds of auctions aren't rare when a home remains on the market for a lengthy period of time, and that seller motivation, not financial distress, is the reason behind the move. The auction will begin at noon at the site of the home, though bidding is only open to registered real estate agents and not members of the public. The house does feature 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms and sits on 181 acres of land. After the break on YCN News, pulled pork in Walpole, New Hampshire. YCN's Dan Carbonara was at the event held over the weekend. He's got details for you after the break.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News, everyone. It is Tuesday, August 25th. I'm Kurt Weedy. Well, it is a Market Madness Street Fair in Springfield, Vermont. It's coming up on Saturday, September 5th from 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. You can make plans to stop in on Springfield's old-fashioned street fair. It is part of a revitalization project sponsored by Springfield on the Move, which is a nonprofit organization. Members of the group include local business owners and community leaders, all who want to revitalize Springfield's downtown and the surrounding areas. The fair will feature antique tractors, classic cars, kids' corner fun, and even with a magician this year, a bouncy house, lots of vendors, music, and of course, food. Go to springfieldonthemove.org for more information. Switching gears, the Vermont Agency of Education has announced the Vermont Smarter Balanced Assessment Portal is now live and available for use by educators, parents, and the general public. The portal will be the agency's main resource for all things related to assessments, serving as both a public portal and an access point for secure tools and information available only with a password. Resources include news and updates, training modules, practice and training tests, manuals, secure browser downloads, and the online reporting system. The Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium will be fully aligned with the Common Core state standards. Sticking with education, many students in Claremont, New Hampshire will be returning to school with new backpacks and school supplies. This past weekend, more than 500 students and their families, from infants to grandparents and even a few canine friends, visited the SAU No. 6 Back to School Festival on Saturday. It was held at Monadnock Park in Claremont. The annual festival always takes place just before school starts for SAU No. 6. Now, the big draw for families to visit this festival is the free backpack with school supplies that their students need. There were 400 backpacks available for students for this upcoming school year. Oh, the sights, sounds, and smells of summer. This weekend, the unmistakable odor of delicious pulled pork wafted from an orchard in Walpole, New Hampshire. The third annual Amateur Barbecue Pulled Pork Competition was held this past weekend at Allison's Orchard. YCN's Dan Carbonaro was there to take in the sights and smells and even taste some pulled pork for himself.
My name's Rick Karen from G-Medi, and we're at Allison's Orchard for the pulled pork competition. We made, what, 20 pounds? 20 pounds cooked. We started with 35. We're down to, I would say probably 5 pounds. Just fun. That's all we do it for. It's a good time. We've been cooking pigs for what, 6 years? Yeah. 7 years? And we just do it for the fun. We don't. Somebody asked me the other day, how much money you make at? I said, in 6 years I made $75. That's why we do it for the fun. That's it. No money in it.
Hello, my name is Susan Jassy. I'm here at Allison's Orchard, which my husband started building 37 years ago. I've been with him the whole time. He died 7 years ago, and I've kept it going, and it's nicer than ever. We do lots of weddings. We do events like today. We're donating all the proceeds to the Fall Mountain Food Bank. It's nothing but fun, fun, fun. And the weather is cooperating. It's cloudy, so it's not so hot. Because of the large space, we're able to hold these events that give to other people. So it makes you feel good about what you do for a living. You know, we try to sell fruit. We're totally dependent on Mother Nature for that. And people love to get married here, but we have many events that just help people raise money. And we also have an apple pie day coming up where we have a huge pie contest. So we have 80 pies. Everybody comes. We have a team who pick the best pies in the different categories, and then everyone gets all the free apple pie they can eat. That's great. It gives me a great pleasure to keep this going. It gives me something worthwhile to do with my life, it feels like.
Thanks, Dan. We all wish we had your job this past weekend. I love pulled pork. Coming up next on YCN News, River Valley Chronicle, host Elizabeth D'Orazio speaks to Margaret Jacobs of the Ava Art Gallery out of the Lebanon Opera House. Stick around for that conversation.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Mike Pizzone. Well, it was a wet beginning to the day, but things eventually turned for the better with clearing skies and much more comfortable humidity levels. Skies will remain partly cloudy this evening with a 30% chance for showers and temperatures bottoming out at about 60 degrees. Clouds will continue to decrease as we head into the morning tomorrow, making for a mostly clear day with a high of 78 degrees and a very comfortable evening with a low of around 58. And Thursday looks to be even better with mostly sunny skies and a high of 74 during the day before a partly cloudy evening with calm winds and a low of around 55 degrees. Now let's take a look at our community calendar to find some unique events happening in the area. The Hartford Parks and Recreation Department is hosting a night of Ultimate Frisbee tomorrow beginning at 5:30 p.m. at Watson Park on Maple Street in Wright River Junction. Cost is $2 per person and it is for anyone ages 15 and up. Windsor, Vermont's Concert on the Common series will come to an end tomorrow at 6 p.m. with a free performance from the East Bay Jazz Ensemble on the State Street Common. Members of the audience are encouraged to bring a blanket or chair to sit on. And the Charlestown VFW Post Hall on Lovers Lane Road will host its weekly bingo night tomorrow, with games beginning at 6:30 p.m. Food and soft drinks will be available, and games are the primary fundraiser for scholarships and other community donations. Well, Friday marks the official beginning of the high school sports season in the area, and YCN will be out on the gridiron bringing you wire-to-wire coverage of the Brattleboro football team's opener against Hartford. So with that in mind, we headed over to practice yesterday to get a sneak peek at this year's Colonels. And it was all about conditioning during the final week of preseason practices, as first-year head coach Chad Pacheco made sure to get his team sweating in preparation for Friday's opener. And the Colonels will be up against a more than worthy opponent come kickoff, against a Hartford team fresh off back-to-back undefeated seasons. Still, the 2003 Brattleboro grad is determined to put his team in the best position possible to improve on last year's 1-8 record. This year's Colonel squad boasts 39 players on its roster, with a relatively even mix of returning veterans and newcomers looking to get their first taste of varsity competition. Brattleboro remains in Division I despite having not made the playoffs since 2006, and the team last appeared in a championship game back in 1981. But Pacheco said he's determined to implement a high-speed offense and a hard-hitting defense, and is hopeful those traits will help turn the program in the right direction. Pacheco has also requested that any Brattleboro fan attending Friday's game wear white, to create a whiteout in the home bleachers. Brattleboro will travel to face St. Johnsbury on Week 2. And turning to baseball, it's now an official winning streak for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats as the team earned an 8-4 victory over Portland last night for its 4th straight win. The teams will square off again tonight at 7. That does it for your look at local sports. I'm Mike Pizzone.
Thanks, Mike. Next, we'll be continuing our Capital Connection series for this week. John O'Connor is talking with Winfred Fennerberg, who is the new superintendent of the Kearsarge Regional School District. We'll be right back with that interview.
The YCN News continues in a moment.